What up, and welcome. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. In this video, I am continuing with a code review. So, if you are new in this channel, please check the link in the description and find video number 1 of this code review series. So what I'm gonna do first, this is an application that I've downloaded randomly from the internet. So I'm just gonna run you through how it works so that at least you can get the context. However, please check the first part of this video if you want a detailed demonstration. So I'm just gonna log in and press some few buttons, and then we are going to get into in details in the code review. So you log in here, and then from then you will see this is a dashboard. This is not my work, it's just a code that I've downloaded randomly from the internet. As you can see, here are the contact details of the developer. So I have not changed his code and his design, I'm just using it as it is. So this is the welcome screen, and this is orders. Okay, so these are the orders and manage product. Yeah, so basically I can say that's about it. So you just click here and then you will get more information here about what you are clicking on. Okay, so I think that's about it. This is his database. This is his database, and these are the table categories: orders, order item, products, system settings, and users, and that's it. So let's just jump into code. So what I did here, let me check the class action. Okay, so what I did here, I opened one of his classes and I have made some notes. So we're just gonna go through all these notes that I have made. Okay, let me just check. This is class action. I think this class is inside admin. I want to admin class. Yes, so what I want to do, I want to open his class as it is. And also, okay, let me also bring this part because I'm going to talk about this. So I want to open his class as it is, and also my detailed notes on the other side. So these are my detailed notes. So this is the class as it's from his code. This one, it's a copy of this. I've copied all of this to this side and I have made my own notes. So let's get into it. So what I've decided to do, I've decided to go and check this file with the name admin_class.php. so this is the file. When you click on this file, then this is the code inside this file as it is. So I haven't changed the code. What I did, I have just thrown some comment in the code. So this file that is open here and this one, code review, the code is exactly the same. The difference is that I have made some comments. So let's just get into the comments one by one. Okay, so this file name, it's admin.class, and then this is the content inside it. So my first comment is the file name is admin class. Inside it you find a class with the name action. Okay, so this is what I mean. The name of this file, it's admin_class, and inside the file you find a class action. Okay, so what's the problem with that? So before I get into details with that, I want to introduce something to you that we don't speak most about as developers. I'm not sure, maybe if it's some sort of a higher level knowledge, maybe people who speak about it, it's your senior engineers in big companies, I don't know. But for me, I found this topic interesting. The topic is object oriented analysis and design. I hope I can get a description of what it is. Object oriented analysis and design. Yes, let me just quickly read through here and see what it says. Object-oriented analysis and design, OOAD, is a technical approach for analyzing and designing an application, system, or business by applying object-oriented programming, as well as using visual modeling throughout the software development process to guide stakeholder communication and product quality. So that's what it is. I think this description is just like self-explanatory. I don't need to explain much, but it's a technical approach for analyzing and designing an application. So analysis and design, it's very rare. It's a rare skill amongst us as number one, freelance developers, guys who work from home, who learned things from YouTube. We don't talk much about this, and we don't really get into details and to like try to understand and implement it. For instance, if I have an application that is publicly available, the only thing that you will see, it's a code. There is no some sort of a documentation or some sort of a written planning of the application, like for instance as to what I was thinking like before I write this app or write whatever a piece of code. There is no planning. So if you might make some sort of a more research on object oriented analysis and design, you will find interesting things that might help you to become a better developer. As you know, in this channel we are all about becoming better developers. So with that being said, in object-oriented analysis and design, before you get into your application, before you write code and whatever, you first do OOAD, and then you are designing your system in terms of its own classes. It's like a map of the system. If we are talking about these classes, like for instance class action, before the code you first put all your classes, try to extract all your classes that will be there and how they are going to communicate with each other. So that's object oriented analysis and design. So how does that applies here into the code that we see here? As you can see here, point number one, this is a class and the class is action, but outside this class there is a code, and this code is outside the class. So in your object oriented analysis and design, you are going to eliminate automatically this problem, because in object oriented programming we don't recognize this part of the code. We don't know what it means. We don't have it. I haven't seen, even in school when I was taught software development and object oriented programming in Visual Basic, Java, or in any other language, I was not told about anything outside a class. So when you are designing your classes, I don't think there is a part whereby you are going to put code loosely or randomly. I usually refer to this code, a code that is just loosely, it's not inside a class, it's not inside a method, it's not a class property. I usually refer to it as a street kid. as a street kid code because it doesn't belong to any family. You know, if you are a citizen in your country, you know that obviously you've got your ID number and your surname ties you to a certain family, home and street address, so you have some sort of a sense of belonging. So this code doesn't have a sense of belonging as far as the OOAD is concerned, object oriented analysis and design. It doesn't have a sense of belonging. Where does it belong? It doesn't belong inside this class. So please take some time and do some research in object oriented analysis and design. It will help you on designing like efficient system and well structured system. So my first comment was that here the file name is admin class. Inside it you find a class with the name action, so which is this is the class. Let's talk about clean code. To me, I think clean code rules are being violated here, or they are not met, because number one, this is admin. By looking at this admin class, to me it's cueing my mind, or it's preparing my mind to expect the admin class here. So if I'm reading your code and I see admin class, I'm expecting to see admin class here. But now when I see action, obviously the code, it's starting to not necessarily to be dirty, but it's not self-expressive. You know, I think still it's Uncle Bob. He once said he was reading a code by someone. I forgot who that code was, but it was him who was reading the code. I think he was asking few well-known engineers and developers and systems designers, those guys who've got the high ranking and well-known names in the software industry. So he was asking, what is a clean code? So there was an answer, a code that goes along the lines of, when you read a code, when you look at the code and assume that it behaves this way and find out that it does exactly that, that is a clean code. Obviously I might be misquoting the code. I'm not like saying it as it was, but it was something along those lines, that when you look at a code and think that it does this and find out that it does exactly that, that's clean code. And he went on to say that it feels like the developer cared about the design. So if I look at this file as admin class, and when I get inside I see something else, then to me it's a little bit of a problem. I'm expecting inside to see the admin class. That's the first take on it. However, point number two, what's the problem of having this name here and having this class here? Then I think I'm here, because I've put it as point number one here. I'm here. There is a function called autoload in PHP. Let me just quickly go and search PHP autoload. Let's see what comes out, what comes up when we search PHP autoload. Let me see what is. I wish I can find some sort of a description, a very small again. In computer programming, autoloading is sorry about that. Okay, in computer programming, autoloading is the capability of loading and linking portion of a program from mass storage automatically when needed, so that the programmer is not required to define or include those portions of the program explicitly. Okay, I think that's well defined. So the idea behind autoloading is that if you are not aware of it, if you are not using that function autoload, it will mean that you need to include your files. This is the first include that I see here. Let's check another one. Okay, quickly running through. The last one is a redirecting and redirecting. Let's see if we have another include where we include another script. The other way to find it is to search it here. Yeah, include, just to see. So as you can see, it's been done twice. Oh, this one is mine, but yeah, here is it, include. So here is including the connection, database connection. Okay, so it's this one and also this one. However, obviously he has some of more include in separate files because he's not using auto loading. So where we were on auto loading, so there is no auto loading here. So it will mean that you must always include your file. How does auto loading work? Auto loading work this way, or functions this way. You have a file, which is, let me take this practical example. You have a file, dbconnect.php, where that file is. Let's see if I can locate it. dbconnect.php. Inside it there is a connection to the database, as you can see. So this file is always required by what? By this file admin class, or this class action. As you can see that we must include it, it's required by it. So what you can do, you must always include this file because you need it. As you can see here, we are using we are assigning this connection, the one that is on that db connection, we are assigning it here to an instance variable, to this variable. So that means you need it. So auto loading takes care of this process of including file. How it does that? Before you create a class, before you create a new class, for instance, let's just quickly go to that db connect. Before you create my new SQL, whenever you create a new when you instantiating an object, you are creating a new object, the function autoload on PHP is called automatically. And when you are calling that function, as soon as you call that function, it will receive the class name automatically. So let's say I'm here. Obviously, let me just quickly go back to that admin code as it is. Admin class, yes. So this one is my code with the comments. So whenever you are creating a new class, whatever that class is, before that class is instantiated, an autoload function will be called and it will receive the class name before you are using that class. So it means that if I'm using whatever class here, new bbb, which is I'm using this class, you know, generally as he is doing here, you must include that file so that the class can be here as he's doing it here. So what he's doing here is including a database connection PHP file. Why? Because that file has connection as a variable. So whenever you are going to use a class, you can't just use a class in this file if you didn't include a file that contains this class. So autoloading helps you, and it takes away the process of including file. Before it instantiates this file, the autoloading function will be called and this name will be passed. You can do inside that function whatever that you want to do. And what is it that you are interested in doing you want to include the files automatically. So it means that you can have one auto load function that will always include files for you automatically. So let me just write a pseudo function here so that you can get what I'm trying to say. We've got a class autoload. It will receive a class name before the class is created. Whenever you say new, it will receive the class name before it creates that class. So what are you going to do with this class name? This is what you're gonna do. You are going to include that class name. Let me say class name here. You are going to include this class name. You are going to take this class name. Let me just make it okay. Yeah, you are going to include this class name that you receive as a parameter. Include this class name, and you just add .php. So obviously this is not a PHP code, but it's just for illustration. So before you instantiate this class, remember we said you got a duty of including it, just like here. With autoload, there is no need for you to include it, because before you instantiate it, as soon as you say new, the PHP engine will pause here and call this class and pass this name. And inside this function, you've got a liberty, or you've got a control of doing what? You've got a liberty of including this file before you use it. So it will mean that, let me just make an example when the program is executing. Let's say we are a program, we are executing line 1, line 2, line 3. As soon as we hit line 22, we are going to pause here, we are going to call autoload, and then from autoload this class name will be passed by. As a developer, I will just take this instruction, include, and then put it here so that I can always include the class name, and then I will just append .php. I will just add here a string .php. It will mean that as soon as the engine hit this line, it will pause, freeze, it will go to autoload with that class name. It will ask me as a developer, what do you want to do with this class name? I will say that I want to write one statement which is include for every class that will be instantiated. So this include is not gonna only work here, it's gonna work in all these files. So I will have this name ddd as a parameter, and then from then I can say include ddd.php. What is ddd.php? It must be this file name. It must be this file name. Okay, obviously I understand it's a lot of things that I'm explaining. I'm gonna explain it for the last time so that you can get it. So let's say inside this function, inside this class called action, we were creating a new class which is ddd. Before you create this class, you must include it. It will mean we will have to say include ddd.php because we are including a file. However, through the help of autoload, before we continue in this step, the program will freeze and go to autoload function, the one that you are going to define and make it globally available. It goes here with ddd, and then what we're gonna do, we are going to write one include statement for all the classes that will be included. And then from then we will say, first, before you continue with instantiating this object, include this class name. Inside class name there is ddd.php, and then the system will go and look for a file ddd.php and it will include it. Obviously it will be maybe in a certain path, maybe classes / and then you use this generic name that will always change. What if then you are including maybe new item, let's say Of course, when the system hits this item, even if it's in any file, it will pause, it will go take this item, go to autoload. Autoload will receive the name item. First, it will include that name item. What if then we are in creating a new quotation? The autoload function will be called before with passing that class name quotation, and then from then we are going to include quotation.php. So how does that relate or solve this problem in this code review? So I'm trying to say, if you are going to apply the autoload technique, which will save your life, because it will mean that you don't have to write all the includes that the developer has written here. If you're gonna adapt the autoload approach, which I will suggest you do, it will mean that your file, which is this admin class, and action must always correlate. They must be the same. So it means that if you've got admin class.php here, you must have class admin.php. Why? Because whenever you create an instance of this class, let's say here you are creating an instance of let's say admin class, autoload will take that class name and it will look for that class name.php. When we go to the class name.php, here it's action, but in the file it's admin, and then autoload is not going to be able to find action.php because in the file itself it's admin class.php. What if here there was action.php and inside here there was a class? That was going to make autoload life easier, because it's going to take this class name, pass it here, and it will say go and include a file with action.php, and when it goes in this directly, it will find it. So what's the takeaway? If you must first of all adapt the idea of using autoload so that you can stick into the contract of the file name. Here it must always be this class name. I hope that one is clear, because it will save your life. Let's say here we were refactoring, we were fixing the code. Let's see how much of confusion or how much value were we are going to get by using autoload here instead of include. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to find in files, I'm gonna search for include. I want to see how many files that uses the word include. As you can see that in admin class we are including here DB connection. Here is also another include. In categories we are using include. Where else? Edit categories, we are including files, and also here we are including files. So basically we can just read here. I think it's still discovering. So at the moment we were on like 64 includes in this whole program. By using autoload you can have how many include? As you can see, that is increasing, the number is increasing, it's almost going to 800 and something. So by using include, you can only have one include in your file and the problem has been solved. Let me just go an extra mile and pull up an include function, or some sort of open a Philantro application, which is a Philantro. It's a framework that I am developing so that I can show you practically, how in the entire app you can only have one include instead, as compared to 809 include. Fine. Maybe one might ask, what is the problem with these include? Let's say, what is the problem with these include? Let's say that let's search for include database. Let's search for including DB Connect. Let's just search for this line, only this line, include DB Connect. We want to see where this has been used. So as you can see, it has been used where we are. It has been used here on edit. It has been used also on manage users. It has been used on orders. It had been used, and also it had been used here. So for now, even though the system is still checking, see how many times. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say for some reason the manager comes to you, or the project manager, and they say that for some weird reason we have to change this file location from being in the root folder as it is now, because at the moment it's just here in the root folder. Hence you see that directly is just this file DB Connect. It's supposed to be here, DB Connect. Now let's say we are moving it to inside assets. What does that mean? It will mean that we have to go and modify this file in I want just to copy. It will mean that we have to go and change this directory. Can I just get, okay, let me just use the shortcut Control C, Control C, and then find in files. Okay, it's already here. It will mean that we have to go and check all the files that has got this include. That means we're gonna come here, change directory to, let's say, assets/db. Come here, change it asset/db. We are not being smart in this way, meaning that we are not applying the dry principle. And the dry principle is DRY. What it means, do not repeat yourself. As you can see here, we are repeating ourselves. I hope that's when it's clear. So let's go to a code, to a Philantro app, and see how many includes do we have. Open folder and see the difference that we might have if we were to use auto load. Okay, XM, go to post and SMS, open this. Okay, so I'm gonna open this project. I'm gonna search for, in all the files, I'm gonna search for include. So my prediction, it won't be more than 3. 2, it's my maximum. 3, I don't think it can be 3, but it won't be more than 3. The first include is going to be for including the auto load itself, and that is supposed to be about it. So where do I include that? Where is my public folder? On index, I have to include the auto load itself. Where do I include it? This one was an experiment. Okay, include once, I'm including the auto load. So let me just search for include and see, say, find in files, and see how many times am I using the include. At the moment I have found 2 occurrences. As you can see, it's the comment and also this include, and that's it. So let's go to auto load and see what's going on inside auto load, where I would like to say there is a path that is associated with including. So auto load is in classes, and then auto load. Let's quickly go to classes. Where is this again? This is what I'm looking for. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Looking for a folder, classes, and then I'm looking for auto load. So this is my auto load file. Okay, as you can see here, I've got a directory. This is the directory that I have. I've got SMS classes. This is the directory that I have. So let's say when things change, as you can see here, I'm including a lot of us. So first of all, let me run you through the auto load function. So this is the auto load function, the correct code. SPL auto load register function. It receives a class name, as I have told you. So you can see how I'm using this class name. If this file exists, because I must include it automatically, then include the file once, take the path, and then add the content, and then / and then the class name, as you can see. Because where do I get these content and path and everything? As you can see that this SPL auto load, first of all, it scans this directory. As you can see that for each class directories, so it goes through this array. This is an associative array. So this associative array has got how many paths? It has got this first path and it has got this second path. So here we are looping through these paths. So what if we want to make changes? We don't make changes all over the place. We only change here and change one directory, and then we are done. That means our auto load will work perfectly and seamlessly without, as compared to this one, where we have to change all these include. And remember, these include this one, these how many occurrences? 1 2 3 4 5 6, almost 8. It's for including the connection. There are also other includes besides the connection. Let's see other general include besides the one for connection. I would like to believe it's a lot. So I hope you understand what do I mean by having a file name. When you want to use autoload, having a file name that corresponds to a class name. I hope that one is clear. Okay, then let's continue. So where are my points? Okay, this was number 1. There is no autoload. Also, there are leaking classes. As I've said that in the object-oriented analysis and design, when you are designing your own object, you will automatically know that you can't have the code running around and being all over the place just like this one. You are not going to have the straight kit. So the other problem that I'm noticing here, it's leaking code. There is 2 straight kit, this line and this line. They don't belong to this class. And then we continue. Looks like I scrolled too much. Okay, and then we continue. In this class we have private DB, where this is a class property. However, here there is no type hinting. The code is not self-expressive, meaning that as much as we've got this property, but we don't know what type of a property it is. For instance, this, what's gonna come in here, it's a class which is going to come from this connection. It's a class and it's a new SQL class, as you have seen before. So if this developer can indicate that this is an SQL class, which is let me just quickly go there, and dbcon, where is dbcon, db connection, the type of that class is my SQLi, that means my SQLite. Okay, so you can type hint here and tell us that this is not a string, this is not an integer, this is a MySQL type, the one that you are expecting in here, so that when somebody is trying to insert an object of an item, not an object of a SQLite, so that this instruction can tell you that we are expecting what we expect this object, not the object that you are including. So that is type hinting. So in this line there is no type hinting. And then in this line, this is a constructor. In this line, con is a magic variable. Refer to 23 PHP tips. Obviously I've got the 23 PHP tips that I have on my channel. I'm explaining a list of all of these. What I'm telling you, I've got I've got a video that explain in detail the 23 PHP tips for developing application. So there I talk of magic variable. So this con is a magic variable. What is a magic variable? A magic variable, it's a variable that has been used in the code. As you can see that we are assigning it to db, to this property, but we don't know where it comes from. What do I mean by that? Here, as a developer, when I'm reading this code, I only know that I am including this file. Does this file has connection? I am not sure about that. It might happen when I'm going to this file, I might not find connection, which is the one that we need here. So this is a term that I've came up with myself in trying to help me and also help you be a better programmer or a better developer. I call these magic variables because they just appear. You don't know where they are coming from. As you can see that you can't really be sure because you are not in this file at the moment. You are here in the code. So if this code could be self-expressive and give you a guarantee that it's supposed to be there, how is it gonna do that? Okay, the solution will be con could have been injected as a dependency in the constructor. That will mean that this constructor need to receive con. This constructor need to receive con so that you can use con. So then what is the difference then? If then you are not, this con is not a magic variable, how have I converted con from being a magic variable? So as a developer, this is what I'm going to say. I am assigning connection that will be passed as a parameter. Wherever it comes from, I don't really care that much. This is assumptive programming. I can assume that wherever it comes from, whatever code that I will be creating a new action, I must pass this as a variable. At least now I know where con is coming from. It will come from a calling class or a client code, instead of just here where I have con appearing and I don't have a trace of where it appears from. For instance, let me just make it a clean example to illustrate what I'm saying. When I double click on con, you can see that it appears here. It appears also in this string, and also it appears here. But however, it doesn't appear somewhere else. But if you can see, if I'm receiving con as a parameter, as you can see, when I'm clicking here, I can trace that this con is coming from here as a parameter and I'm using here. But if this is not done, then you can't trace. So I call these magic variable. They just appear. It's a problem to have magic variable because there will be a point in time where you will want to know where am I instantiating this variable. Another developer, they came and they included a different file than this one. Then that will be a problem. Then you have to find out where am I instantiating this variable. Okay, let's continue. Okay, the class is content driven than context driven. Obviously you must go to 23 PHP developer tips. I explain in detail context versus content driven. Then again, these are the one of the terms that I coined myself in order to help me to understand, to make my life easier, and also to help me to learn object-oriented programming. So there is context and versus content driven classes. Okay, I will come back to this one later. For now, let's continue. So the class is content driven than context driven. What do I mean by that? As you can see here, we were having a function distract, we are having login, we are having login to. Let's just quickly continue and check what else do we have. We have logout, we've got logout to, we have save users.
Hello there.
Oh, okay, we are
I'm
also
Etum
concerned
Sengat,
about
the
saving
designer and
users.
developer.
The extract method creates magic variables. What are magic variables? These are the variables that you cannot trace where they are coming from. For instance, if we are talking of this variable username, as you can see, it also appears here, but at the top of this line 46, you don't know where it's coming from. Magically, it's coming from this extract post. So meaning that this is a global post variable. It contains, or I would like to assume it contains, this username. As I'm reading your code is not self-expressive. It's not capable of explaining itself. So it must, hence I'm saying I'd like to I'm a big fan of Mr. Bob's philosophy or way of doing things when he said your code needs to explain itself. Once you feel a need of commenting, you must know that you are doing something wrong. You must not be easy to comment your code because it must explain itself. Let me just quickly make an example here of this autoload. This is a class that is coming from a calling client class. So when you click here, you know where this variable is coming from. Let's just randomly check this class variable classes. It's not here. What class? Let me just check all my classes, abstract classes. Let's just check abstract location and see if we have this one. I'm declaring a class. I wonder to, yeah, I think this is a class that has a lot of things. Okay, let's just read it from the top. Class model. As you can see, this is a string. There's no type hinting. Public class returned data. This cannot be an array, it cannot be a string because it's going to change. So that's why there's no type hinting. But as you can see in this class, I'm expecting a main dependency injection container, hence there is type hinting. So if we talk about the dependency container, the DI container, the dependency injection container, where am I receiving it? I'm receiving it from the constructor, and here is it. The client code will pass this. Also, I'm doing a type hinting here. It will pass it as a dependency injection container. Okay, and then this dot model is equal to class. Where is this class? As you can see, this class is coming from the calling container. I'm able to check that. Let's see, this is just the return type, and that's it. So I wanted to give you an idea that you are able to trace the variables where they are coming from. They are not magic variable, they don't just appear. Let's just quickly solve the comment here. Holds all the results from the model. This really, according to my principle, is not supposed to be there. This one is just a code that was there and it has been commented. It has got nothing to do with trying to explain what this code does. As I'm saying that I'm not a big fan. Obviously before I was, but once I started to adapt the concept of clean code, I started to get rid of the comment. Also, Mr. Bob goes on to say the comments, they rot, meaning that they expire. For instance, today you are going to type here, this code does this, and another developer will come pressed for time. They are under pressure, they don't really care on looking at what your comment was. As long as they will fix this and the code works, they will change totally this, and they won't change the code. They will leave your comments there. So after 2 years, you will find that you are having a lot of comments that are misleading. Then he said that that's a code rot. That means the comments are rotten. So that's why you must not use those comments. So I think I'm about to be disturbed. Somebody is coming. Obviously the video has to end here, but I think you get the idea of where we are here. So we will continue next time. Otherwise, for me, Matthew Msingati, if you feel like this video has added value to your own overall understanding of clean code, please subscribe.